In one final comment on this is that, I really, really want to underscore this point because, I heard this a lot. I've done a lot of Venezuela stuff, been to Venezuela, know a lot of Venezuelan dissidents, and have followed it pretty closely. And now in a sense, I'm not given up, but I've just, it's so corrupt and so broken and so clearly, a rump state of what it once was, and so clearly an illiberal country that there's only a few holdouts that still defend it. But I used to get really involved in these debates when there were still people in the mainstream defending it. When Hugo Chavez died, I was on Chris Hayes' show, and I always is one of a couple, 2 or 3 media appearances in my life that I regret. And it was a panel of like 5 people or something, and they were all Chavistas except for me. And I actually tweeted about this recently. Hayes responded to me, and he's like, "Well, there was me." And it's really funny because Chris used to work for The Nation, and I get on the bingo card that somebody posted the other day, very nice guy. I really like Chris a lot. And I get the...
By the way,
we got to talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
But which means that our show's boring, by the way. If it's all we're saying the same shit all the time. But I was against all these Chavistas, and the one thing that everyone said, and this is actually true of Russia too, it's the fundamental understanding of what a democracy is. And what people don't understand is that a vote and a repeated vote does not make a democracy, people. This is not a complicated subject that is made complicated by people that are incredibly thick about what they believe democratic institutions and democratic norms are. If there's a recall election in Venezuela and they finally, after some period of time, certify, which they're actually not doing now, and they have an election and Chavez wins, hey, he's won 13, 14 elections, 15 elections. Let me tell you what is not free and what Americans would never consider a free election. This is also the case in Russia when people are talking about 80% approval ratings and Putin's going to win or whatever. If you take the American media and if you wiped it out and put it in the hands of Donald Trump, the state controlled all of it. I'm not even talking about...
There were rumors that would happen.
Well, it still might. If you took PBS and made it not a thing, there's a station in Venezuela called BTV. You can watch it online. It is the most insane thing I've ever seen. There's a show on it called La Joya, the razor blade, and this guy, Mario Silva, goes on in front of pictures of Mao. No joke. I've posted this on Twitter. And he denounces people with secret recordings that the intelligence Sabine has made, and they play on the air to denounce opponents. They've done this to Maria Machado, lots of people. This is what the democracy is that is then having an election. The free newspapers, El Universal, has been taken over by some shell company. They don't do it like they used to, people. They don't do the Castroism where they shut down opposition newspapers by the point of a gun. They buy them and they pack them, and they do this stuff in a very, very quiet, slow way until all of a sudden the only way you can get news is on the internet. This is an incredible thing. There's a big site in Venezuela called Dollar Today, and it basically controls the parallel exchange rate. And the exchange rate is what everyone, basically, this is how you get money. You don't get money on the open market. Black market money. That exchange rate is controlled by a guy who's very clever. He's a very interesting guy, and there's anti-Chavez, anti-Maduro stuff on the website. You know where he is? You know where he does this stuff? From the break room at a Home Depot in Alabama.
What?
Because he had to flee the country, and he basically controls the exchange rate. That's the only source of information. If you have a lot of poverty there, if you don't have an internet connection, the same is true in Russia, is that your point is very well taken, and it's very serious. The fact that people in the West, we've always, and Matt knows this point very well, in the West, we always see Russia through our eyes. Mikhail Gorbachev ran for president. He got 0.5% of the vote. And America said, what the fuck? That guy's the hero of the Cold War. They hate him. Nobody likes him. We talk about Novaya Gazeta, where Anna Politskaya worked, who was shot in the back of the head by who knows. That's an opposition newspaper. Gorbachev used to be a part owner of it, too. It's in Moscow. It's like saying the New York Review of Books is the opposition newspaper. We see this through our prism. Most of the people in Russia get their news media and get their information through a news media that is controlled by the Kremlin. This, my friend, no matter how many elections you have, how many plebiscites you have, isn't democracy. And I've had so many experiences of people thinking that, well, Chavez won 14 elections. Under what conditions? If this was allowed to happen in the United States, there would be a revolution. It ain't that bad here, people. Sorry.
Just listen.
Right.
So
setting aside his own personal motivations of whether he was a good or bad person,
right.
Venezuela might be the most democratic country in the hemisphere because of the social movements that support him, which he never repressed. There's something approximating.
Well, but that's a little tautological statement to say the social movements that support him, which he never repressed. Well, why would you repress social movements? Well, the test of whether a country, how democratic a country is, isn't whether the leader represses the social movements that support him. It's whether the leader represses social movements that oppose him.